also I know like the opportunities they offer for our students. So nice to meet you all. I'm looking forward to answering any questions about our programs today.
All right. So then, my name is James Spellman. I have been, I've been with Tepper coming up on 3 years in November. My journey in higher ed started about 6 years ago, though, with the University of Maryland Smith School of Business as a recruiter for their full-time MBA program. Right after, or actually just during COVID, I was working in a completely different industry prior to COVID, ended up leaving that job due to COVID, and was fortunate to find my way into university recruiting, and have been doing that since, and it's been a very fun ride. What brought me to CMU, being from Pittsburgh, growing up, CMU always kind of felt like this ivory tower on the hill that was unobtainable to the normal person, that was just for the elite, for the smart. But since starting the interview process with them, since working with them, I can tell you that couldn't be further from the truth. Yes, everyone here is incredibly smart, but the people here are down to earth, are incredibly real, and just want to make a difference, and they want to do something that's unique and different, and I kind of love that about this place. It's a very close-knit community, so I'm happy to talk about how you could possibly be a part of this.
Okay, great. Thank you for that introduction. And I completely concur. It is definitely a place for smart people, but a very, very tight community, and that community stays with you. I graduated CMU 2003, so it's been more than 20 years, and I literally met Trey for like 3 minutes, and we formed that bond and we formed that connect right away. I think that's really testament to CMU, and it's just the large alumni community we have here in India that continues to support with everything people do, from fresh graduates to alumni with 10 or 12 years of experience as well. So thanks, James, for bringing the community factor up right up front. If you guys don't mind, I would love to dig right into the programs and what you would sort of consider like an overarching introduction to the different programs that you overlook and supervise.
Yeah. James, I'll go MBA first. That's okay?
Sounds good to me.
All right. So yes, at Tepper we have a STEM designated MBA program, which means students will get the additional 36 months of OPT time. I'll talk about the full-time MBA. Full-time MBA is a 21-month program that is on-site in Pittsburgh. So it's full-time in the city of Pittsburgh in Southwest Pennsylvania. Typically, we have opportunities for a full range of our career services team. So I'll talk about that in a little bit. But also, it includes an academic year with like intensive on-site learning. But also, typically, most students receive an summer internship as well. So a lot of our students, we utilize a career team to work closely with, find opportunities within the summer internships. Our full-time MBA typically has a mini semester structure. So that typically means students have 4 terms per year, which are about 7.5 weeks. The first year, typically, you'll focus on a lot of your core classes, which will consist of strategy, operations, accounting, finance, etc. And then you're able to choose up to 14 concentrations, which we'll talk about a little bit later as well, which will consist of accounting, finance, product management, AI, business, etc. The program is focused more so on analytics and business fundamentals. So a lot of students have opportunities to learn about problem stats, optimizations, statistical decision making. And again, a lot of our students, work closely with our career team. We have amazing clubs and organizations that students on the MBA program utilize. So I'll take a pause and let James talk about our MS programs.
Sounds good. So,
just to
similar.
We said 21 months. Typically, you get a summer internship baked into this, 4 semesters, and 14 concentrations.
Yes, correct.
Oh, perfect. Over to you.
course. So dissimilar to the MBA program, the specialty masters at Tepper are one-year programs. So the Masters in Management and the Business Analytics program are both 9-month programs, so very, very accelerated. You move through those quite quickly. And then our product management program is a 12-month, so just 1 year. Starting with the product management program, it's a January start, so you start in the spring. You have a core curriculum of a couple of different things. You'll have some business communication classes, you'll have some design thinking classes, and then you'll have a core of technical classes. And then you go into a summer internship, and then you'll come back to your spring and you'll have the option to do elective areas in a couple of different things. Some choose to do more technical elective areas because they like to be a little bit more in the weeds, or they are folks who are coming from non-technical backgrounds, or you have folks that really want to take more of the strategy lens, and they choose to take some more of the business electives. That program, I think, as the name would suggest, is aimed at creating very effective product managers. We are kind of a unicorn in that space. There is not another dedicated product management master's program in the United States at this time that I know of. So it's a very unique program. It's going into its 8th cycle, so we've got it pretty down to a science, and we've had some really amazing outcomes from that program. It's a very small cohort. It's about 48 students is the cap every year. This current class is 35 students. So you get to know your class very well. You get to know your professors very well. And it's a joint program between the Tepper School of Business, the School of Computer Science, and then through the School of Computer Science, also the Human-Computer Interaction Institute. So through those 3 institutions, you're getting a lot of different learning areas.
The degree is awarded through the Tepper School of Business, then?
It is, yes.
And these are all MS degrees, right? So it says a Master of Science in...
Correct.
In whatever field. Okay. The question on the STEM certification, I know that the MBA we have is STEM certified. Are the 3 master's programs STEM certified as well?
They are, yes. So all 3 master's programs are STEM designated as well.
Okay, excellent. Okay, thank you for that overview. Do you guys think we could delve a little into who are these programs specifically designed for in terms of just work profiles? So what should someone be looking at when they're coming in? And what's a realistic expectation going out?
Yeah.
Trey, do you want to start with MBA?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So, in terms of employers, in terms of post-employment opportunities, we find a lot of students finding roles within consulting and strategy roles. So, McKinsey and Company, BCG, Bain, Deloitte, PwC, etc. And then a lot of our students find opportunities within tech roles. So you'll find students from finding roles at Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Meta, etc. And I believe in 2023, 42% of graduates that were in the program found roles within consulting. In terms of backgrounds, I think the best part about Tepper is that you don't necessarily have to have a business background to join the program. We find a lot of students that are maybe engineers, maybe come from computer science backgrounds. We've seen some students with liberal arts backgrounds. But I think the ability to handle the quantitative nature of the program is very important. So when looking at, standardized test scores, we typically see anywhere between an average of 324 on the GRE, and then a 7 and 5 on the traditional GMAT, which is an average score for our incoming students, and also a 3.24 cumulative GPA. I know for Indian candidates, I believe it's like an 8.5 on their grading scale. So typically first class with distinction is very average. within the MBA program, and I believe this is a bit different from some of the programs that James will be speaking to. We do look at years of work experience, and that is very critical. So we look at anywhere between 3 to 5 years of full-time work experience, and we want students to have a good idea of what they want to do in the program. So when we say 3 to 5 years, we look at students that are having a good academic background, who had professional experience, maybe are looking to pivot to a new industry, but also have a keen on gaining leadership experience, whether they've had some already or looking to gain that leadership experience at Tepper, because that's a big part of our program is leadership. And then additionally, we want students to, work closely with our career team to help them land a full-time internship, but also, of course, find the role of their dreams post-graduation. And a lot of that includes networking. So we want students to come to campus, whether international students and Indian campus specifically, to really be open to networking with our career team, working closely with our alumni, to ensure that they are successful. So in terms of backgrounds, again, you don't necessarily have to have a business background, but we do want to ensure that you have the ability to handle like the analytical and quantitative nature of the program. So
okay, that was very helpful. So what I'm hearing is sort of classic American 3 to 5 years of work experience, with a strong emphasis on quantitative to ensure you can handle that. And
absolutely.
In terms of what roles they could look for, was you said a wide array, from product management to technology, going into Silicon Valley, that whole gamut.
Yeah, absolutely.
While we're on this, would you like to talk a little bit about the deferred program? I know we have one. If you could at least touch upon that.
Yeah, so the deferred MBA program is typically for students that are fresh out of undergrad, that are looking to be admitted to an MBA program early, and then gain a few years of work experience before coming back to us. So they kind of have a conditional acceptance. But I will throw in one caveat at Tepper. It is only for international, for domestic students or students that graduate from a U.S. institution. So you could be an Indian candidate, but you have to attend a U.S. undergrad institution in order to be referred into a deferred MBA program. You can't be an international student graduating from an institution in India and join the program. So it's only for international students that are attending a U.S. institution, that graduate from a U.S. institution, or domestic students. So if there's any students on the call that are attending a U.S. institution, that are graduating, say, for example, graduating from maybe a Michigan or Texas or Indiana, et cetera, then you're eligible for the deferred MBA program. But for right now, it is just for domestic students and students, again, from a U.S. institution.
Okay, that's great. Thank you for clarifying that. For anyone who joined the call, we have with us 2 experts from Carnegie Mellon, one who's talking about the MBA program and one who's talking about the various master's programs. I am keeping my eyes on the chat box, so if anyone has a burning question or anything that's confusing or anything on your mind, please put it into the chat, and between the 3 of us, one of us will make sure we get to it. Sorry, James, back over to you. Go for it.
Yeah, no worries. So in terms of background, I think Trey talked about a lot of good points. The aptitude piece is very important. So when we talk about aptitude, it doesn't need to necessarily be from an academic background. We have seen a lot of folks who maybe came from a liberal arts background, didn't ever take a CS course, never took higher level maths, but through their work experience, through LinkedIn Learning, or certificate programs after their graduation, have picked up, data analytical skills or something like that. And those are certainly things that we take into consideration when we're looking at candidates for the program. So don't think if in your undergrad or in your previous master's degree, if you didn't do these things, that you're not an ideal candidate for us, because that's not the case.
But James, just staying on that, thank you for flagging that. But you still would look for some evidence of it, even if you don't have it in the form of a degree, right?
Correct. So you have, for my MSBA program, we ask you for a programming essay. So you have 500 words to talk about what your programming experience is. So you can say something like, in my everyday work, I synthesize data and I'm self-taught, and we will take that. or you can say like, I did the Google Analytics certificate. And that is completely fine with us. You know, at the end of the day, if you lie to us about your skills, you're really only doing yourself a disservice once you get into the classroom, because you are going to sink very, very quickly. So it's less so about you having the academic, that formal academic piece.
Non-traditional evidence is also accepted. Non-traditional.
Correct.
Okay, terrific. Okay, let's go back to, sorry I interrupted you, on what you look for in the various programs.
Yeah. So for the business analytics and the master's in management program, those are early career programs. So I would say both of those, you could be anywhere from just coming out of your undergrad to about 3 years of experience. Of course, there are going to be outliers on the work experience piece. So like I know for this year's business analytics class, we have a gentleman who's creeping up on 9 years of experience that is in the program. But ultimately, we felt he made a good fit for the class and would add value to the students. So he did gain an admission spot to the program. So even if you're beyond that 3 years, again, don't automatically exclude yourself. Talk to somebody in admissions, let them know what your background and your story is, and we'll give you our honest feedback. For the product management program, that one is designed specifically for mid-career professionals. So in a typical year, we're looking for, similar to Trey in the MBA program, 3 to about 7 years of experience is our sweet spot. However, this year, we are experimenting with bringing some early professionals into the program. So if you are somebody with like just 1 year of experience and are interested in the product management space or are interested in getting into that, I invite you to contact me and learn more, because we wanna pilot what that looks like for this program.
Okay, so that's on the years of experience. And in terms of the score bands you look for, James, for your different programs?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say that they are very similar to what Trey presented for the MBA program, in terms of the GMAT and the GRE, as well as the GPA. The piece I will add about the standardized test scores is we do have waivers available for all of our programs, both the MBA and the MS. So if you are coming from a quantitative background, whether that be academically, whether that be professionally, there is a waiver process built into the application, and we would invite you to take advantage of that if you feel that you are qualified. The last thing that we want a candidate to do is to spend your time, your money, and your resources on something just to check a box.
Since you touched upon the waiver, which is a question I was going to come up, let's go deeper into the waiver. How many percentage of people realistically do you give a waiver to every year? And if you could give maybe 2 or 3 examples of what would really constitute as a credible waiver from your lens for both.
So for the product management program, it ranges year to year, but I would say 75 to 80% of that class every year will apply with the waiver. Just because typically those students are coming from technical backgrounds. So students that are coming in with...
How many do you admit, not how many apply? Like how many admitted people will have a waiver?
So sorry. So the admit rate for that program specifically is like 70%.
No, the question is, of the people you admit, what percent? Let's say you admit 100 people. Is it like 5 people who get a waiver? Is it 20 people? Is it 50% getting waivers? How many people?
Got it. So for product management, I would tell you that it's, so for this year's class, it was like 27 of the 35 people were applied with a waiver. And so a pretty high percentage.
That's a very high percentage, yeah. And the MIM and the data analytics?
So I don't know for the Masters in Management program. I truthfully don't know for that one. But for the Business Analytics program, I would say that program this year is 115 students. And I would guess that nearly half of those were waiver candidates.
Oh, that's very reassuring. Okay. Trey, you have a similar number for the MBA as well, please?
Yeah, but I'll be fully transparent. I don't know that exact data, honestly, because I'm a bit newer. And yeah, it literally just started in January, but we have seen a lot of, I think within round 1 and 2, we have seen a lot of students that have applied for a waiver, obviously have that strong technical and analytical background, get admitted. But again, I don't have specific data, but I can find that out for you and get back to the group if that's okay.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Can you give an example or two of what might be an effective sort of substitute for a standardized test?
A substitute for a standardized test. I think James kind of touched upon that. If you've had any analytical or technical work within your current position, I think that's something that could substitute. I think for students that may, have engineering or computer science background, we're looking for or even a business background, we're looking for, success in those classes. So if you performed well in undergrad, I think that could serve as a substitute for a standardized test because, again, I think it really comes down to can you handle the rigorous program that our MBA program offers? And we want to ensure that if you're admitted to the program that you won't, every student needs help and every student needs guidance, but we want to be able to ensure that you'll be able to handle the coursework. So I think if you don't have a strong test score, we really going to emphasize your performance in undergrad. And if your performance in undergrad is not, maybe not the best, or, if you haven't performed well in any of your quant classes, or maybe you come from liberal arts background, then it's very, very important to take either the GMAT, the GRE, or the executive assessment. So
I'll add on to that just a little bit. So even if you're coming from a degree, like a liberal arts, I'll give an example. So I've seen liberal arts degrees, but, they've taken Calc 1 and 2 and maybe an intro to CS course. And they've listed that and they've done well in those classes. And they have listed those 3 classes as, evidence of their quantitative ability. And then also, a data project that they did at work. And we've accepted that for the GMAT or GRE waiver. Typically, we're looking for somewhere between 3 to 5 classes. 3 to 5 classes in your transcripts in those quantitative areas in order to obtain a waiver. And we're looking for something with a B or higher. So not a B minus, B or higher.
Okay.
In terms of work, so I had a candidate last year for the product management program who came from a liberal arts background, didn't take a lot of math classes, so wouldn't have qualified there. But in the last year of her career, she was working in HR, but was self-taught in Python because she was working on a data migration project for their CRM system. So that is what she used in her essay to show us that she had the chops to be able to handle what it would take to be in the product management program, and ultimately we did accept that.
Okay, wow. Okay, it's very reassuring. Thank you both for sharing. I'm going to take our first question from Ishan. Hi, Ishan, how are you? And Ishan's trying to pit both of you against each other. You both mentioned for your respective programs, anywhere from 3 to 7 years for the MBA as well as the product management masters. And his question is, for someone looking to transition into product management, which program should he apply for? So let's hear the pitch for both for potential product manager. Thanks, Ishan.
If you want, Trey, I can start on this one because
Sure.
Yeah, so I get this question a lot, and so there's a couple of factors that go into play. So one, it's about time. So the product management program is about half the time. So are you willing to step away from your career for 2 years to do the MBA program? Do you have that kind of funding available to you? Because double the time means double the cost in terms of your tuition, in terms of your living expenses. So it's something that you have to take into consideration. And then also, how strongly do you feel about product management? If it is something that, you think, yeah, I'd really like to get into that. I think I would really like it. So I want to do this product management program. I would say maybe it's the right program for you. However, you run a risk there of getting into this program, getting to the internship, coming back at the end of the summer and saying, you know what, this wasn't what I expected it to be, and I didn't love it. And then you're just kind of stuck because this program only has one main goal, and that is to create a product manager. That's not to say that these skills aren't transferable. Certainly, you're going to learn a lot of different things that you can take into other positions, but this program is really only designed and dedicated to one specific thing. Whereas with the MBA program, you are open to a broad range of things, and you can take a concentration area in product management. And if you say, hey, you know what, this isn't for me, then you can pivot and you can start taking electives in different areas.
Okay, I think that was very beautifully explained, James. You need the focus, but Jay's got 2 points over you. He said it's half the cost and half the money. We all want to save money, we all want to save time. So what do you got, Jay, for us?
I mean, I think James kind of hit it on the head, honestly. I think, it really depends on, what you're looking to do long term. I think what path makes sense. If your goal long term is like director, like VD of like product or CPO, then yeah, maybe the MBA might make more sense, and that'll give you like that leadership experience in the business that might go on an MSBM program. But if you're looking just to transition fast into like a mid-level tech firm or startup, then yeah, maybe the MSBM program makes more sense. So I think it depends on what your long-term goals are. I think that'll really justify what program would be better for you. So.
Okay,
I have a couple of questions here, Vibha. Is that okay?
No, sorry, I'll take questions at the end. Okay, we'll take the next question from Ikshi Jawar. So I think his complaint is about him getting waitlisted and getting rejected. So while you guys waivers and everything sound very accessible, you're like, oh, we would accept course done online. Our friend over here had a 332 in his GRE. He's a CFA and FRM charter holder, and he's just wondering, what else can I do to get into my So what helped him? That's slightly more from the MBA program. So Jay, over to you.
Yeah, sure. I'll chime in. And I'm not sure exactly your background without looking at your application, but we highly suggest for you to apply again. And there could be many factors that maybe decided as to why you're waitlisted, and it could have been due to maybe the interview. Maybe some of the questions we asked you weren't, maybe you didn't answer them sufficiently. We look at, of course, letters of recommendation. So again, like double check your references to make sure that they're on track. Even looking at some of your short-term and longer-term goals, that's something that's really important that we utilize during the video interview. So ensuring that you have like clear-cut, short-term goals or long-term goals. Those are things we analyze too. So there's many factors we look at just compared to academics, just as we mentioned earlier. So again, look at your references, make sure that you're prepared for the interview, make sure your short-term goals or long-term goals are ready. If you're completing an essay, make sure you're answering the question, but also preparing yourself for the optional essay if there's any gaps or anything in your application that we're interested in that we're looking to dive more into. So there's so many other factors, but again, we suggest for you to apply, and if you have any other questions, I'm happy to maybe answer some questions off the script to help you out in terms of this upcoming cycle. So,
would it be okay to connected Ishan and give to the respective people on this call, and then you could have them one-on-one as well? Yeah?
That'd be great.
Okay, so we'll make that introduction for you, and then you can sort of take it one-on-one. But that was very well explained, Jay. Probably it's just a matter of him with his narrative and story and being clear on his goals, short-term, long-term, etc. Sorry, James, you want to say something over here?
Yeah, so the other piece is there are there are instances where there might not be anything wrong with an application. It's just the depth of the application pool in a particular round or a particular year. I mean, for the MBA program, we received well over, 1,000 to 1,200 applications every year, and many of those are incredibly qualified. So it gets very hard in admissions committee when we're pitting people against each other, for lack of a better word, of very similar profiles of really good scores, pretty good resumes, great qualifications, and then that's where we have to get very nitpicky. So oftentimes it might not necessarily be something that's wrong. It's just your qualifications against somebody else who's got a similar profile and just has that one little thing that they did better.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, thanks for that clarification. Taking our next question here from Shyam Gupta, who's trying to understand how you guys look at the CFA. So if you could just share your views on the CFA, is it taken seriously? Is that also something you could use as a waiver for your GRE/GMAT? The relevance of it, and how many people do you accept with the CFA charter at your respective programs?
Mm-hmm.
How would you take that, James, if you don't mind?
Yeah. So I can tell you that we definitely consider it with, I won't say heavyweight, but we definitely put weight into having that because we realize it's not something that is easy to obtain. It's the equivalent of a CFA here in the States. So I know somebody that has gone through that process. I know what they put you through. So congratulations for making it through that. So in terms of getting a waiver with that, I think certainly that qualifies you. There's a lot that goes into it that I think are transferable to showing that you have the quantitative aptitude to go through this program, whether it be the business analytics, whether it be the MBA program. So certainly. In terms of how many people apply with one and how many we accept, that data I don't have, but it's a very common thing that I've seen on resumes of our applicants.
I think James is trying to understand, is it too common? Are you seeing a lot of CFA? Because the intensity of the program. And full disclaimer, I did CFA level 1, and after that I was like, okay, I'm done. I didn't move on. Just the sheer quantum of work it entailed. So, is it sort of like oranges in the supermarket, where it's pretty much everyone has it?
No, I wouldn't say that it's too common. I wouldn't say that at all. But it's definitely something that we do see. But no, not like oh yeah, there it is.
Okay. Trey, anything on the similar lines for the chartered accountancy that's very popular in India, and you were here recently? Sort of people do the CA/the CFA, or they sometimes do both. We work with a lot of applicants who have actually done both. So any thoughts on the chartered accountancy and how that's viewed? I'm surprised no one has asked a question on the CA, but I'm just going to ask on behalf of the audience.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, I think James hit the nail on the head. I think for a lot of our students that have chartered accountancies or CFAs, that is another way to show your ability to handle. That shows more of your business background. That shows that's something that we utilize during the admissions review process. And again, having these additional certifications or benefits on your resume, your transcript, the things that we certainly look at. I think that shows again your quantitative aptitude to handle the program. So if you have a CFA or chartered accountancy or any of these other certifications, certainly speak to that. And then if your background isn't necessarily business heavy, utilize the option essay and speak to, what the preparation and time it took into you receiving your CFA, and, why you're interested in finance, and maybe you'll like to utilize one of our concentrations in finance or accounting or et cetera. So again, I think it speaks to your quantitative ability, your ability to take on additional coursework or take on additional certification, and that helps you. Then I might advance you or put you at another level compared to another student. So I think that's something that we definitely speak to during the application process.
Okay, thank you for that. This is a question here from Deepika Das, who says, could you elaborate on how applicants with postgrad degrees, distance education, and multiple internships can strengthen their profile? So do you look at distance education degrees or diplomas for that matter? Is that something you consider?
Yes. So I would say pretty much everything for the review process is a holistic lens. So anything that you put into your application, we're going to put some sort of stock into. So the short answer is yes.
Okay, great. All right, let's go with the short answer. Want to talk a little bit about just like, guys, as we are speaking, if anyone has a question, please feel free to put in the chat box. Just to lighten it up, like what is a day in the life of a student at Tepper look like from your lens? What time would I typically wake up, or what I do next? Like you could just walk me through a day, so we can visualize a day in the life.
I'll go first, James, and I'll pick you back off of you.
Okay, cool. So I would say for all the programs, they're pretty similar in that Tepper does classes Monday through Thursday, and your class blocks are going to fall anywhere between 9 a.m. to about 5:30 p.m. And typically, you only have 4 classes per week. So you plot those 4 classes in those days.
So you said 4 classes a week and only 4 days a week.
Correct. So you might only have 1 class a day. You might have 2 classes a day, depending on your mini semester. And that doesn't seem like a lot, but then you factor in, all right, you've got those 90-minute classes, and then you've got the group work that comes with it. Because we utilize a mini semester system, there's a lot of self-learning that you do. So a lot of reading is on your own. And then you're meeting with your career coach. You're meeting with your coaches in the Accelerated Leadership Center. You're going to networking sessions. And then your social life. So there's about 40 different clubs and organizations that students can join at Tepper. So all of these different things start to creep into that week.
And then, for any students that haven't been to Pittsburgh yet, and James and I can talk about Pittsburgh and probably until we're blue in the face. Our campus, we're located like 10 minutes away from downtown Pittsburgh. So for like your social life, if you're interested in sports, if you like music, if you like art, if you like theater, if you like the nightlife, like there's a lot to do in the city of Pittsburgh, and even surrounding our campus are some really nice neighborhoods that students usually will stay in terms of our graduate students stay really close to campus. So there's always a great social opportunity at Tepper and around the surrounding campuses. And Carnegie Mellon's 10 minutes, actually like 5 minutes away from University of Pittsburgh, so you get to network with some of their students as well, from the undergrad or graduate side. And one thing that I really enjoyed while I was in India and talking to students, and there were a few students who, of course, lived in Pittsburgh for some time or had some family in Pittsburgh. They all said that Pittsburgh reminds them of South India, which was really funny to hear because there's a strong Indian population at, of course, Carnegie Mellon, but across Oakland. So I think a lot of students feel comfortable being in Pittsburgh as well because of how strong the Indian population is. So I think a lot of students will feel comfortable and feel welcome, but also have a chance to network and gain new friends as well. So
absolutely. I remember my time, I felt very safe being in Pittsburgh.
Yes.
Like a contained environment, a city, but still a very sort of close to the campus. So, Okay. Can we talk a little bit about admissions from a strategic perspective, is there any difference? Like, I'm sure you get asked this every year all the time. Any difference between round one, round two, round three? How do you evaluate? Is there a percentage you have saying like, hey, 40% of the class gets filled in round one? If you can break this down for everyone, because this is such a big stress factor for a lot of people.
Yeah. I'll take a stab at it, James, first, if you don't mind. So, for international students, and all of this is MBA specific, and James will speak to MS programs, but MBA-wise, we suggest students applying by round three, international students, just because it takes some time to receive your I-20 and certainly work on the visa process. So, round three is like the deadline for international students. Now, in comparison to round one or two, I think that a lot of students, it's difficult because I think that we look for students that are submitting a complete application. I think it's really depends on if your application is fully complete in terms of you've had time to speak to your recommender, you've taken time to utilize, to look over your optional and personal essay. You've worked on, all of your applications. So I think it really depends on if you're ready to submit by round one. But we want students, again, to submit a complete application. I think that's what's most important compared to anything, because we'd much rather you take your time and submit within round two or submit maybe a insufficient or incomplete application within round one. So, but the deadline, of course, for international students would be on round three, excuse me.
So you're saying apply when you think you're most ready. Sort of put your best foot forward.
Correct.
Come with a blazer and the bow tie and all of it.
Absolutely.
Like, is there a number? Like, you have a percentage for like, typically we'll see like 30% is filled by round one or 60% is filled by round. What is that? Is there a broad indication?
Yeah, I would imagine in terms of like numbers, I would imagine, we fill a majority of our class within round one, and then, we're able to utilize round two and three. Again, I am a bit newer, so I can't speak to like specific percentages, but I would say that we do have, we see a lot of applicants within round one. And even within this year, we see a lot of MBA applicants so far too. So, again, I can't speak to like specific numbers, but I will say round one is definitely the most, probably the most popular round of students applying. So.
Anything for you, James?
Yeah. So on the MS side of things, our round two is always going to be our most popular. I'll take that back. For the business analytics and for the masters in management, we have seen that round two is the most popular. I think it's mostly because it falls over winter break for our students, so they're not at school and they have the time to, they're talking to their parents and their parents are saying, hey, what are you doing after graduation? And they say, I don't have anything lined up, so I'm going to go to grad school. And they have the time to submit an application. So that might be a contributing factor. So I would say that the bulk of our classes are filled during that time. But that's not to say that there isn't room in round three or round four for anyone. But as Trey said, it is preferred that international students that don't have, that aren't already in the United States on a visa apply in either round one or round two. And we just say that so that we have ample time to get you your I-20 document, and then you have time to get your visa, especially as we saw this year with many applicants. It was a fight to get a lot of people here. We are very fortunate that the university recognized that. And we had a lot of great advocates, both in our office and through senior leadership here at Tepper and at the university level, that were able to work with our international students to get them an extension to our ad dropped period. So anyone, because especially with India, the visa slots opened a lot later than some other countries. So we were able to work to get that extension so that folks who got slots a little bit later in the game had about an extra week to arrive to campus. In fact, I think today was the last day that they could have arrived. And yesterday I was in a meeting at like 1 o'clock and our executive director, JR, threw his hands in the air because one of their MBA admins was able to get on a plane from India to the United States. So it was a big win for us.
Okay, since you broached the subject, then I'm going to blame it on you and not on me.
That's okay.
What's going on, because from so many miles away, and with all the media and all the coverage that we receive as internationals, it's very disconcerting. So since you're on the ground, on site, give us a flavor of what's going on. You know, we have some other universities that are constantly in the limelight that we are reading about. But what is going on at Carnegie Mellon? What is the stance the university is taking? And what is the general emotion on campus with what is going on?
Yeah, so first and foremost, I think everyone from the admission standpoint definitely emphasizes with all of the international populations that we deal with, knowing that it's a particularly difficult time to be considering coming to the US, whether it be Carnegie Mellon or any institution at this current moment. There's a lot of dangerous and divisive rhetoric out there, and I can tell you it's certainly not the opinion of Carnegie Mellon. I think our president has put out several messages that confirm that. I think the dean here at Pepper has also said very similar sentiments. We are fortunate so far that we have not received some of that negative attention from the current administration. For good or bad, I don't know. But we thus far haven't seen any negative attention or negative media. So I would say that we're kind of status quo in terms of, you know, what the feeling on campus is. I think our students still feel safe and still feel supported by the university. I have an office fellow who works with me in the product management program, Davisha Tail, who is an Indian student, and I talk to her quite frequently because she does interact with a lot of Indian applicants right now, and I ask her, you know, to let me know when people are bringing that up, and then I check in with her, like, how are you feeling? And luckily for her, she doesn't feel like there's anything that's impacting her at this time. So it truly is from an outside looking in, but from here, there's nothing that's happening.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is empathy, sensitivity, and an attempt to create a safe space on campus. From a pragmatic perspective, for someone looking at coming in, so I mean, there's two sides of this, right? It's a coming in and then exiting the university. So if I were to come in, then my student visa is potentially, I don't know, is it still questionable? Let's talk about the coming in. Do you guys think with a marquee university such as Carnegie Mellon on my I-20, is there still potential for me to get rejected, realistically, from a pragmatic perspective? Can I still come in?
Mm-hmm. Great, I'm happy to answer that unless you...
Yeah, sure. I feel like this is more your bread and butter, so I'll let you go.
Cool. Yeah, so for anyone that doesn't know, I also work partly on our operations team, so I actually handle part of the I-20 process from an admissions standpoint. So the answer is yes, there is always an opportunity, even in a normal year, for your visa to get rejected for any number of reasons. Currently, if you have questionable things in your social media, if you have negative things in your criminal record, there is an opportunity for your visa to be rejected. So keep that in mind as you are considering coming to the US, particularly in this moment. We saw last year, unfortunately, a student from, and I can't remember if it was an MBA student at Tepper or if it was just a CMU student who was already at CMU, have their student visa pulled because they had a misdemeanor charge from their undergrad. Something that was just super silly and really didn't mean too much, but under this current administration was enough for them to say, you know what, no. So certainly keep an eye on, what is in your, what you know about yourself.
Okay. Sorry, I have this giving me a flag that we have 5 minutes left. On the getting outside, since both the masters and the MBA program seem to be STEM certified, is that guaranteed then that once I graduate, that for at least 3 years, if I don't have the H-1B, I can officially stay in the United States with or without an employment letter?
So you would need the employment to be able to stay. So I think you have, I want to say you have 6 months to be able to find that employment before officially you are asked to leave the country.
So within 6 months, I need to find something, and then without the H-1B, I can stay for up to 3 years.
Correct.
Okay. Now, would that something, could I just be like a freelancer at a library or a freelance consultant, or does it have to be from like a large organization? Just trying to see how risky, because a lot of people are like, hey, should I be applying to the United States in this climate?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it would have to be from, and it doesn't have to necessarily be a large organization, but it has to be an employer that is willing to sponsor you. So you couldn't just be a freelancer. I think though, I would look at the employment statistics for our programs, especially coming out for the class that just graduated. I think we have some pretty strong numbers, high 80s, even into the 90s of our class having jobs within those 6 months. So while it might seem like a risk, it's not so much of a risk.
Okay, at least for 3 years, it should be okay. And who knows, by then the administration changes and then everything changes along with it, as we've seen.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do have a question on scholarships before this Google Meet just shuts down on us. Scholarships. How much money does the university have? How generous are we in our outlook?
Yeah. I'll speak real quick because I know we have like 2 minutes left. So students, scholarships at Tepper are merit-based. So we look at your complete application, years of work experience, academic rigor, and many other factors in terms of scholarship amounts. I know MBA side, typically 48% of students receive like merit-based funding. And typically the average scholarship size, and I want to say MBA-wise, is right around $35,000 for the year. Now, you can apply to any outside scholarship, but typically students will receive scholarship based off of merit on the MBA side.
Sometimes there's a checkbox saying I do need financial aid as scholarship. If I check that box, I might look at it like, oh, suspicious. It's like, hey, you probably don't have the funding, I'm going to now sort of reevaluate you. Is that a thing?
It is not, no.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Okay, because we get asked sometimes, should I check it? I really do need the money, but I don't want to not get it in. So that's a constant student dilemma. It might sound confusing to you, but we get it by these questions. I'm so sorry. In the interest of time, I do want to say thank you because without gratitude, we don't exist. So let me take this 30 seconds to say thank you. This was absolutely fantastic. The honesty, the sincerity with which you approached the questions was really heartfelt. Thank you to all our students for staying. I've seen everyone who has started on this call is still on the call, which is always surprising on an online session. So thank you, students, for hanging around and for the amazing questions you asked. And Trey and James, I will personally connect you to people who would like to get into this conversation, and some people are saying thank you, etc. And when you're in India, of course, we'd love to host and help in whatever way we can to keep the information flow going, and we'd love to transmit it over to our students as well.
Of course. Thank you for hosting, and thank everybody for being on the call today. We hope to connect with you all soon.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Viva. I hope to see you in India next year.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Signing off.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.